Hi, welcome to Ear for Fear. This is Rick, and this is the podcast that talks about scary movies or movies trying to be scary. Today, we're going to be talking about 1975's Deep Red, directed by Dario Argento. We have one of our regular guests out today, Morris Hoyman. Hey, man, welcome back.
Hey.
This is, we're now 2021. I think this will be the first episode you're recording in this beginning of this lovely year.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a dumpster fire.
Yeah. But before you and I jump into this, let me do like a quick synopsis. A jazz pianist witnesses the murder of a psychic who lives in his building. Disturbed by his inability to understand the significance of a detail he saw at the scene of the crime, he partners with a journalist in an attempt to solve the mystery. As they start to unravel a web of secrets, the killer stays one step ahead. All right, man. So Deep Red, you suggested this one.
Yep.
Donovan and I had did a previous episode of Suspiria, which I really enjoyed, and we were tossing around ideas, and you threw this one out. This one was done prior to Suspiria. What was Suspiria? 78?
77.
77? Okay.
Yeah.
So prior to Suspiria.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. But you had suggested this one. I hadn't seen this one, so I'm like, yeah, give it a shot. As I think we've talked about, I'm not a huge fan of these Giallo movies, the Italian ones.
Yeah.
I think if I was to pick between Argento and Fulci, I would definitely gravitate more towards Argento.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen enough of them to go, hey, this one is better, or I like this one,
Right.
But really fast, there's going to be spoilers. Before I forget, do you want to plug anything? Your Monster Movie Man?
No, we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we jump into Deep Red, it was funny. I was listening to our previous episode of The Entity that Darren and I did, and I had caught something and I wanted to address it really fast. We were talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think we had mentioned something about it being loosely, and I put that in quotes, loosely based off of a serial killer or a killer in Europe somewhere. And in actuality, and again, in quotes, loosely based off of Ed Gein.
Right.
Who a lot of people would know was he was from Wisconsin, killer from in the 50s. I think he was tried in the 60s. But now, what was interesting is when I was reading up on this, and I had heard this before, and this is what gets me, and I don't want to talk a lot about it, but we know that in some of these movies they say based on a true story, but in actuality, there was very little that had to do with Ed Gein. He didn't kill people with a chainsaw.
Nope.
And really the only similarity was the house. They did model the house in Texas Chainsaw Massacre after his home.
Yeah, he had a lot of bones.
Yeah.
A lot of bones, chicken bones and whatnot. That was kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But other than that, I think even read something with Toby Hooper was like, no, this is completely fictional.
Yeah.
It's not, so, but I did realize, while reading this, that Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, they're all inspired by him.
Yeah.
So
Norman Bates, Buffalo Bill. Yeah. Yep. Norman Bates digging up his mother. That's what Ed Gein did, was dig up his mother.
There you go.
And then dressed her up and acted like she was still alive. With the wearing of the women's skins. It's kind of like Buffalo Bill / Leatherface.
Yeah.
But other than that, very loosely based.
Very loosely based.
Yeah.
But I wanted to clear that up just in case, anyone out there was listening to the Entity episode. We get wrapped up when we're talking about stuff, and sometimes we don't realize what we're even, that we've said something and then we don't clear it up. I wanted to clear it up because I happened to be listening to it the other day and I caught it and I'm like, so anyways.
Yeah, I think the English serial killer you guys were referencing was probably the one that was from High Tension.
I think you're right. And I think in the High Tension episode, we mentioned that. And I think we just probably got it, it confused. And that happens sometimes. But anyways, man. Cool. So we got that resolved, I guess. Deep Red. So right off the bat, because we haven't talked about this. I don't, we talk about doing a movie, and then normally, because you and I have been friends nearly 30 years, we'll talk about a movie, but we waited until we sat down to record this episode to talk about this. So it was interesting. And while I was watching this, I was texting you, and I think it was, and you nailed it. I think I was having issues with. I was partially confused. This thing jumps all over the place for me. And I didn't find that in Suspiria, but you pointed out that Suspiria is very similar, and maybe the only difference was I just liked it visually, and I thought the music was better, and maybe the structure was just a little more structured than in Deep Red. I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard with these. So this is what I know. Maybe this is a bad almost interpretation of these movies. I feel like this is almost like a horror soap opera. Is that like a really bad, like there are things that I noticed in some of these, like, there's outrageous production design, there's bold close-ups, there's intense color, strange, gruesome murders. Would you say those kind of follow the Giallo, formula?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Giallo formula is like black gloved killer that we either POV or, we watch their hands, and we know that they're around. Or sometimes they just happen, like in a scene. But usually black glove killer, someone that stays in the shadows, and he's, doing very outrageous, killings. Yeah. So that's pretty much what Argento did with this and some of his other movies. Taking that he, followed Mario Bava. That was kind of his mentor. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. Because, the main ones that we always hear about is Argento and Fulci, but Mario Bava, even his son, I think is it Lamberto? Lamberto. Yeah. I know Riccardo Frida. Is that another Italian? And then Umberto Lenzi, is that another? Umberto Lenzi. I mean, I don't know if that's like a Mount Rushmore of kind of Italian horror. I don't know. There's Diodato. There's there's a bunch of them. So but Argento's,
he kind of looked up to Mario Bava. Okay,
Cozy. Right. Some of these guys are all Italian directors did similar things, but they I want to say they all kind of followed Bava. Because what Bava did in like the the late 50s and the 60s.
So he was kind of the
guy that
he was at the forefront of the
of this, and then everybody else just kind of followed and did their own interpretation of that style.
So I know I touched on this in the Suspiria episode, but I wanted you to chat a little bit. So Giallo in Italian means yellow.
Yes.
These were based off of kind of like these cheap paperback mystery and crime thriller like novels, right?
Yeah, they were like a pulp novel.
Okay.
Yeah, like Pulp Fiction was supposed to be of those cheap pulp novels from the early like 40s and stuff.
So would you say that a lot of these Giallo films were they taken from these novels, or
no, they're
just kind of maybe
it's their own interpretation.
Okay.
Because
when watching these movies, like like that, when I said like it reminded me of like a kind of like a horror thriller soap opera.
Yeah.
I think it was just I think it's some of the acting. It's some of the like I said, it's some of the colors. I dig the colors. Colors are cool. They're known for having these kind of, great, not really outrageous music scores, but really good music. A lot of sighs, a lot of shards of sound, going on. But I don't know. I felt like this one, it was hard for me to figure out what was happening. And I'm usually pretty good. And I'm like, God, it's jumping around so much. I couldn't figure out some stuff. And I don't know, maybe it was just, I didn't watch when I watched the one where it was dubbed in English.
Mhm.
I didn't watch like subtitles. And so maybe stuff gets translated differently.
Yeah, there is a longer version that has some exposition, and it starts out with Marcus, our main character, David Hemmings, doing his, he's at a concert, or they're practicing, and he, they're doing jazz, and there's some exposition in the beginning. So that's like the very beginning of the movie.
See, I didn't get that in the version I watched.
No, and then you moved right into the observatory where they were talking about
in the auditorium or whatever.
Auditorium,
the old, and again, it was very vibrant and red. But of course, if that's
Right.
in the mid 70s, I mean, you would probably say an auditorium like that or some sort of theater is going to be, it has a lot of the red or the burgundy colors, right? I mean,
Right.
but I did love how it, the curtains opened up.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
Dude, I dug that. It was just open up the curtains to this, and this is where we're introduced to Helga. She's the psychic. And I think at the table with her is Professor, and I'm probably going to butcher this, Giordani.
Yeah.
And then the other guy was named Barty. I don't know. I don't know what he was. But then they're having this discussion about, I don't know, man. And his psych, like is in the mid 70s, is the psychic stuff, is it fairly new? Or, is there any sort of like credibility with this? I mean,
but just they were just exploring that. And I think 60s and 70s, with the hippie movement and, people and fortune telling and, tarot cards. I think that was coming more to the forefront than being something that they did and so, they were just exploring it with the story. And then also I just wanted to add when you said you liked that where they're opening the curtain and letting you in the auditorium. I'm not entirely sure, but I think we're supposed to be the POV of the killer walking into the auditorium, and finding a seat.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I just thought it was a very cool scene. I enjoyed how we're kind of opened up to this, this thing. We get this discussion with, Helga, and she's doing her, her psychic spiel, and she's doing little things that you would,
know the name of the guy in the audience and what he had in his pocket. And
exactly. But then we get this, she gets this overwhelming feeling of someone in the, just a bad feeling of someone in the audience who's committed murder. Yeah. And so that overwhelms her. I mean, that's a bit overwhelming for her. We see what we to believe. And of course, we never see the killer really until the end.
But they're at that point when she's like, they're trying to, comfort her, comfort Helga up at the stage that no one's paying attention that the murderer is actually leaving at that point.
Correct.
Yeah.
We see this person leaving because we see people sitting down and they're getting up to let them. Yeah. Yeah. And so, she was very taken by this. This was very emotional for her. And she went into detail, she explained, I think she said she'd heard I think it was like a kid crying, something about a house.
Yeah. Children's music, Oh, and in the version that you watched, did you see the murder in the beginning?
No, what murder?
Do you remember the murder in the very beginning of the movie?
So tell me. It's okay. I mean, we're spoiling this.
Okay. Yeah. So the very beginning of the movie is they're playing that song, the children's song, and it's Christmas time, and someone is you could see in the shadow on the wall, someone's being stabbed, and then they throw the knife down.
No.
And you don't see who it is. It's just from a shadow, but the knife appears at the very front of the camera, and then you see a child's feet walk up to the knife.
No.
So
no, that was not in my version. Why is that?
I don't know unless you Did you miss it? It was actually the very first.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think I watched what version did I watch? I think it was maybe on Amazon.
Oh, really?
I think it was on Amazon.
Yeah,
but
no,
no,
and
that wasn't there.
Yeah, actually.
So why was that, I wonder?
That's very odd. The one I watched was on Amazon as well, just to rewatch it.
Shit, I'm almost positive it was Amazon I watched. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's the very beginning, so
no,
it's before the credits.
No,
so
I don't recall that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's okay. Anyway, so I did enjoy, so this, we get this throughout the film. I love the close-up shots that Argento is doing with these kind of small little toys. There's the marble and there's
the yarn doll.
Yeah,
there's a yarn doll. There's also there was a baby doll.
Yeah, and then I think later on there's maybe a knife or a switchblade, but I like these close up. More so the marbles. I don't know, and I don't know what it really represented other than it being kind of a stylish shot, and I wanted your take on it. Like, have you seen this? What you said, 10, 15 times, 10ish, maybe 10,
probably 10 times.
So. Other than it being a cool stylistic shot, which I did like.
Yeah.
Was it relevant?
Was it relevant?
Was it? I mean, because it was just these little toys. Like, unless it was somehow conveying the message of a childhood, because we're gonna find out later in the movie that something does happen.
Right.
So I don't know what.
No, I just think it's just a style. It's just a style choice that Argento did, showing that the killer is out there and he's he or she
yeah
and is just well, I guess this is spoiler territory, but
we've already established that.
But that the killer is probably maybe living in the past, and maybe living in that area of the funny thing is I'm not sure. I always battled with this, and I haven't had anybody analyze this for me. I'm not sure if that was actually the killer that we were watching, or if it was
the little boy, the
Carlo.
So, Carlo, yeah. So Carlo as a child.
Yeah. No, or Carlo as an adult being traumatized by what he saw as a child.
Which would, okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard because we can only go so far before we ruin on who the killer is.
Right.
And I almost think we have to, because then it explains Carlo's...
super spoiler territory, everyone.
Yeah. So... Because so Carlo and his mother, and it looks like Martha, but I think it's Marta.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out that Marta is actually the actual killer.
Yeah,
we're led to believe, through the most part, that it could be Carlo or it could be someone else. We're not sure.
Yeah,
at one point they
throw a lot of red herrings.
They really
in these movies.
Yeah, but we're gonna find out that Marta is the actual killer. And that when Carlo was younger, the husband at the time, his father, was going to put Marta back, or put her into a mental hospital, and she was not having that.
No.
So she ended up killing Carlo's dad, and they basically put him in a room, almost like a tomb, and they sealed it up.
Mm-hmm.
And this traumatized him, which would traumatize any kid at this age. And I don't know what his age was at the time. 8 to 10, 8 to 12. I don't know, man.
Oh, no. I'm
you think he was younger?
I'm thinking younger. He could have been 6 to 8.
6 to 8. Okay. And this traumatized him. And then that would explain the fact that the guy is he has an alcohol problem.
Oh, yeah.
Probably drugs as well.
Yeah.
But he has a serious problem, and we just we don't know at this time, but we just chalk it up that he's whatever, man. He drinks a lot. Of course, we're going to find out later in the movie why this is the case. So yeah, I think we almost have to do it. I hate to do it. I hate to spoil it for someone so early on in an episode, but we kind of have to, right?
Right.
We're introduced after this whole kind of thing at the auditorium. We're introduced to Marcus. Marcus is the pianist, and we're introduced to Carlo. And Carlo again, is
Marcus's friend. Also plays with Marcus.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think that's part of the version that's on Amazon Prime. They cut that out, but Carlo is also in that band, in that in musicianship.
Okay,
so
see, I don't get any of that,
and I forget what he played, but it's been a while since I've seen the extended version.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I'm a little bummed that whatever version I watched didn't have
the extended version's like a half hour longer.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So Carlo and Carlos, he's kind of drunk. Marcus, they have this interaction. I had to look this up. I was like, that bar reminded me of that famous painting. What is it called? Like Nighthawks or something, where it has all the famous people in the.
Well, that was a painting. That was painted on the side of the building.
No, it was an actual bar. I read this. They actually,
really?
They built this fake little tiny bar to mimic that famous painting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I'm like, it looks like that thing.
I thought they painted it to mimic the painting.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, no,
But was it an actual bar?
I think it was like kind of like a, probably cheaply built and not much to it,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was based off of that, which I thought was kind of cool. I guess that kind of goes to the outrageous production design. Like, it's like, well, why do you don't need to reimagine that in your movie, but you did, and it's cool. But I mean, we get this interaction between Marcus and Carlo, and this and that, and Carlo's going to go back to the bar, and Marcus is going to go home, and then he witnesses
they hear a scream. They hear a scream, and then Carlo mentions, he's like, oh, must be some woman getting raped, which wouldn't fly in today's movies, but he's like, toasting to the woman getting raped.
That was weird, right?
Yeah,
is that just a product of its time? It's just
product of its time, but I also think it's a little bit on Marcus's psyche. You can tell that he's got a little bit, he's maybe follows mom a little bit, and he's a little skewed in the way he thinks. Carlo,
you mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
You
said Marcus.
It's okay. I meant to say
no, it's
Carlo.
okay. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. I could see that. And then Marcus witnesses,
they both witness the Helga coming through the window.
No, only Marcus did.
Oh, because Carlo
went back to the bar.
No, he was actually leaned up against the wall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Marcus witnesses this, kind of gruesome murder. Helga's, the killer breaks into Helga's home, and kills her. And what is
slashes her and then throws her face through the window.
Yeah,
that's very typical with Argento. You notice like a lot of face smashing through a window.
Yes,
and you'll notice it if you see some other of his movies. It's a trope that he uses.
He does. Okay.
Yeah, with some killings.
Any particular reason he uses it? I don't know. It's just something he did, and he continued to do it.
It's just a choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've only seen a few of his, but yeah, I am noticing that. And like I said, the killings they're over the top, kind of gruesome.
It's funny. That's an Argento thing. Is a head coming through glass, and you'll notice with like Fulci, if you ever watch any Fulci, is eye gouging.
I do remember that I've seen one or two. Who did I know it's called something different, but I remember By the Gates of Hell.
Oh, that's Fulci.
Yes, I remember that because there was that in that.
Yeah, it's also City of the Living Dead.
Yes. I knew there was a couple different names for it, but I remember seeing that when I was a kid, and that thing did damage to me because isn't there a scene with a drill?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, talking about different names. So this is also, Deep Red's also known as Profondo Rosso, which is the Italian name. And then in some other countries, it was distributed as the Hatchet Murders.
Which is funny because I don't remember, like we were talking about this, I don't remember any murders with a hatchet. Like there was like maybe a knife or some sort of cleaver or something.
Looks more like a cleaver.
So that's not a I mean, I get it though. I get these translations like from country to country. It's like, I don't know, man. It's just weird. It's like with Demons and Demons 2 and all these, I get confused by them all, man.
And you know what? I think that might have to do with, certain styles of movies don't really mesh really particularly with you, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Is because I know with the language barrier with some movies, I'm like right on board. Like South Korean movies, I'm fine with.
I'm cool with that. Yeah.
But like Italian, they go a little big, or they do things a little grand or a little red. Or,
I think that's it.
The acting. The acting's a little over the top.
It is over the top. And I think that's the recipe, right?
Yeah.
With these giallos. I mean, there are, right? The colors are kind of over the top.
Yeah.
And the killings are over the top, and the acting and the production is over the top.
Yeah.
And that's where, and again, I know, you don't agree, but that's why I was saying like horror soap opera, because we know the soap operas are so over the top and so unbelievable. And that's where, especially Suspiria, I didn't find that to be the case.
No, it's pretty over the top. But I know the way you feel about it. Yeah.
I think watching these two, because I'd watched, we did Suspiria last year, and watching Deep Red. I don't know. Maybe I was watching it through some different, some different lenses on this. I don't know. I'm not saying it wasn't in Suspiria, but I didn't find it to be as annoying for me.
Oh, okay.
And it's not that I didn't like Deep Red. I loved Suspiria.
Yeah.
I liked Deep Red.
Yeah.
I did not love this movie. I felt like in Suspiria, the music by, Goblin, it's funny, in Deep Red, it says the Goblins.
Oh, yeah.
So,
or you can also say Claudio Simonetti.
Yes. Well,
he's the main composer and the keyboardist.
But I think it just, like I said, I was watching the credits in Deep Red, it said the Goblins.
Yeah.
And I know in Suspiria, it's just Goblin. And so it's like, I don't know what's right or wrong. I don't know if there is a right or wrong, but I felt the music in Suspiria was just, for me at least, far better. There was some great music in Deep Red.
Oh, yeah.
Then there was some music that I felt was out of place. I felt I was watching a 70s porno, a 70s sci-fi movie.
Oh, when he's at the ghost house?
Yes.
When he was at the ghost house, it was a little...
It was weird.
It was weird.
Like some stuff was great, man. Like, oh yeah, I'm on board. This is kind of reminiscent of some of the music they did in Suspiria.
You know what it was reminiscent of? And I think Claudio Simonetti was actually inspired by Tubular Bells.
Okay, I don't know.
So the Exorcist music.
Oh, okay.
Tubular Bells.
Yeah, okay.
If you ever listen to Tubular Bells as it goes on, because it's a really long song.
Okay.
Towards the end, it gets a little weird. And it gets a little meow.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think when I was watching Deep Red the other night, I was texting you. I'm like, it seemed like John Carpenter was inspired by Goblin because...
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, there's
absolutely.
Definitely some stuff there.
There is definitely stuff there.
And John Carpenter... John Carpenter has a certain sound, that we've become accustomed to. And so, I'm not going to say ripped off, but I'll say inspired, because I think I've said stole or ripped off before. And I hate to do that because I don't know what these, anyone was thinking when they did something, whether it's a director or a composer, whatever it is.
Maybe inspired by.
I think inspired, and because look, I do stuff that I'm inspired by. Like I'll sit down and I'll maybe just design something and I'm inspired by something else. And so, and it's like, I'm sure the same with musicians and whoever else, man. I mean, we know, Quentin Tarantino was inspired by several people, and how many people were inspired by Alfred Hitchcock. So, I got to be better about saying stolen and ripped off, because I don't think that's the case, and a lot of times they're paying homage to some of these, the previous,
actually, yeah.
Okay, so we know we got the murder. Marcus goes into the house where Helga, calls, and
He's walking down the hallway,
which is important.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be honest with you. I caught it.
Yeah.
But I didn't pay attention to it.
You did?
So again, it's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. So we've already told everyone who the killer is.
But you noticed that there was a human face.
I did, but so I did and I didn't. Does that make any sense? Like, I saw something that didn't seem right.
Yeah, because all the other faces look nightmarish.
Yes.
Like a nightmare painting.
But it was so quick.
Yeah.
That I didn't rewind it to go back. And I just, okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's the main focus. Marcus it's driving him crazy. Like, I saw something, but it's not there. And what was it?
And he's thinking at first that there was a painting there and it's no longer there.
Yes. Like, because he even says that to like one of the officers. Hey, did you guys move anything?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, of course we didn't. We wouldn't do that, you know? And so, but then this thing really takes over, right? I mean, he becomes obsessed by this thing.
Consumed by it.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's not an investigator. It's like he's a pianist that witnessed that murder and he's just obsessed by it. So he's gonna, along with the
journalist. What's her? Is it Gianna? Gianna.
Yeah.
And you were telling me before we started, and I didn't know this, that she was married to Dario Argento.
Yeah, it's her name's Daria Nicoletti.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I liked her though.
Yeah. That's Asia Argento's mother.
So now I guess it really isn't relevant, but were they married prior to? You said that she's in a lot of.
I'm not sure if they were actually married or there was just like a marriage of convenience.
Okay, kind of like
like his girlfriend.
Yeah.
That
kind of like Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn. Right. I don't think they ever got married,
but they call each other husband and wife.
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Now and you said she was in all of Argento's movies or a lot of his movies?
A lot of his ones from this point to the mid to late 80s.
Okay,
yeah.
What'd you say his like? Okay, so you said okay. Inferno was what 1980,
1980,
and then you said and Tenebrae was 82.
82. What
did he do? Like, was Tenebrae like it? Like, I'm not saying he didn't do other films, but no. Like, would you say like, were there any other good? Argento.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like, I like Phenomena.
Okay,
that had Jennifer Connelly in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Jennifer Connelly was in it.
They call it Critters.
Oh.
Or I'm sorry, Creepers.
Creepers, okay, because Critters was the other.
Oh my God, I said Critters.
That's okay. I'm like, that's kind of cool because they had another movie in the 80s called Critters.
You remember the video cover of Creepers?
Yes, I do.
And in Italy, it's Phenomena.
Okay, and I think I've seen both covers.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Opera. Opera's really good.
When was Opera done? Was that
88?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I would say, in my opinion, his greatest movies were starting with Bird of Crystal Plumage, which was, I want to say, 69. So 69 to probably 1990 was like Dario Argento's.
Good run.
Yeah, I mean, he had some others that were like, I mean, they're okay, like past 90.
Yeah.
Like I sort of like Trauma a little bit. The Card Player, there's parts of that movie I can stand, but the ones in the 2000s. So
did he stick with the whole Giallo, or did he try to?
Oh, he branched out. He
tried to branch out a little bit.
Yeah. Especially if you want to watch, Dracula 3D that just came out like, I don't know how many years ago, 6 years ago.
Oh, he did that. It was bad.
Oh, it was brilliant. I mean,
because okay,
it's bad.
So as we've talked before, the height of the slasher was what, maybe 82. It doesn't mean that we didn't get other slasher films, but it kind of peaked, right?
Yeah.
And then the genre of Giallo, when do you think it peaked? And then,
there's still, I want to say, even like slashers, there's certain people that are such fans of them. I would say newfound fans that they'll make a really good slasher nowadays.
But I mean,
the classic height, of the Giallo,
because I mean, I'm sure they're still done,
probably 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
late
would
70s, maybe?
no,
No, mid to.
yeah, early to mid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But they were still doing them. It's
Mhm.
just okay.
Yeah.
They weren't as common or as
Right.
like I said, like from 82 we talk about as the year of the slasher film, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of good, but there were still slasher films after 82.
Oh yeah, even after I would say 84 is kind of like the classic cutoff for me, and then after that it's you'll find ones here and there that I appreciate and I like and are formulaic, but at the same time are they good? I like them, I appreciate them, but they're not like from the classic era. They're pretty cheesy,
So we could argue, right? We would argue that the Scream franchise would be almost like a slasher.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny. I didn't dislike the Scream. I enjoyed the first one. As they went along, I was just And then I know they're supposed to be doing another one. I don't know, man. I just like almost don't care. Does that sound bad?
No.
It's almost like with Halloween. Like, and I think I've mentioned this before. Look, Halloween is a classic. It's such a great movie, and they did some sequels, and part 2 was cool, and we're not going to mention 3, even though I love Season of the Witch. The other ones, I don't care for. And I know they got these other ones that are coming out, and
the sad thing is I'll watch them, but it's like, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm so over Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I hate to say that because we're a horror podcast, and I'm sure it's going to piss off some people, but I'm so over Michael Myers. Like, I don't get tired of Chucky. It's crazy, man. I don't get tired of Chucky, and I don't get tired of Jason. Freddy, I kind of got tired of Freddy, even though Freddy was always the one I loved.
Right.
I got tired of Pinhead. I don't get tired. It's funny. I don't know why. Like, Chucky's just a friggin' doll. It's just a doll.
Yeah.
And I just love Chucky, and I love Jason. I can't explain it. I don't know why.
Well, Jason, he can pretty much have anybody hulking in that costume and kill and slash, teenagers.
You know what it is for me? I think now that I'm sitting here and we're talking about it, I'm thinking about it. I think with Jason, for the most part, it's not all of them, of course, we know, but it's in the woods, and it's cabin. And I hate to say the word campy because I know I'm being ironical here, but it's campy. And Michael is in
suburbia, and then
it's
boring. And I almost expect to have more of a story with a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
So Halloween movies and the stories that they've come up with so far are either not intriguing, or you just don't care about.
I think that's got to be it for me.
And the thing for like a Friday the 13th movie or any slash in the woods kind of movie, it doesn't have to. No, it doesn't have to be anything.
No, I just want it to be kind of fun and some cool kills. And
kids show up to camp, they get slashed, and they die.
And I'm good with that.
Think of even the spin on that genre was one of your favorite movies, the Final Girls. Same thing.
Loved it. Loved that.
But the same thing. It's just put them in that setting and let it be. And
I think that's probably why I liked Final Girls so much, because it was kind of making fun of it, but it was still really good.
Right.
It just had some really great elements that. The Halloweens, I think you're right, man. Like Halloween, if it's going to take place in suburbia,
you have to have a story.
You have to have a better story, and I have to be more engaged with the characters. And like
think of Elm Street. Elm Street needs to have a story. You can't just slash a whole bunch of teenagers. You have to have the reason why certain things are happening.
So like with Friday the 13th, there doesn't have to be a lot of substance. With Elm Street or Halloween, there has to be that substance.
Right.
There has to be more to it. And I find that most of these Halloweens, and I don't even know what they're up to these days, they lack that for me. And I'm just find myself so bored with it. Not that, look, like I said, I love Halloween. It's one of the greatest friggin' horror movies.
That's my favorite movie.
And I can't disagree with you. It's a great movie. I mean, Exorcist is mine, but Halloween's up there. It's so good, but all the other sequels, it seems to lose that mystique or something about it.
Well, just think of some of the sequels that we've had. So, some Michael in part 4, like, he was supposed to burn up in part 2. Well, so we're assumed that he's
Not to mention his eyes were shot out.
Yeah, his eyes were shot out, so he regenerated his eyes. He can see now, and the fact that he can actually, walk around, he's not that burnt up anymore, and neither is friggin' Loomis. He's not burnt up, or he has a little bit of scarring that changes.
Yeah,
as the movie.
As each sequel, I forget at what point did he die in real life? Donald Pleasance. I can't remember. Was it 6 or part 6?
Part 6.
Part 6. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, man, I don't know, man. And again, I'm sure people are listening to go, "Oh, Michael Myers is the greatest." Well, that's fine. That's definitely it's all good, man. I can't, I can tell you just my opinion is he just doesn't do it for me, and I'm bored with it.
Well, the fact that his mask changes when it shouldn't change.
Some of those masks are bad in those sequels too. Looking back, like the mask that they did in the more newer one, that was cool.
That was actually really good.
Yeah,
and pretty believable that was an old mask.
Yeah.
And even I'm gonna even as far as say the Rob Zombie movie with the 2 Rob Zombie movies. The story of the mask works. It works because it's believable. Part 4 to part 5 isn't believable. 5 to 6, it's like, what, did he just keep that mask and then it's changing?
Part
6 to part 7, it's like, okay, well, he's just continuing to use the same mask, or is he just he's like, oh, this one's getting old, I better go to the store and go pick up a new one.
Yeah.
It's just it's cheesy as fuck.
Yeah, I know, man.
I think we forgive it in Friday the 13th because the hockey mask, the chevrons always change. Some of the things. I think we're getting off on tangent.
It's all right. It's all right. Well, we can do that because it's our podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. But anyways, let's get back to Deep Red. I don't know what prompted our tangent on Halloween. So let's get back to Deep Red. So we know Marcus is on a mission here, right?
Yeah, he's
trying to figure out what's going on. And in the meantime, so and maybe I missed this, man, or maybe it was the version I watched and it didn't touch on this. What was the importance of the Amanda, and I think it was Rigetti, that house kind of out in the country? We know it's mentioned. Do you remember
I can't remember.
Dude, I'm confused. Like, what was the importance of this other than it was mentioned? The killer went out there.
Other than I just think that the killer was just trying to cover their bases by killing anybody that Helga could have told. That
okay.
Because remember, Helga said, "I'll know who the killer is." Helga said, Helga said that she knew who the killer was, and she just had to sit for a moment to and then she was just gonna, I'd write it down or notify somebody, and I think maybe the killer wanted just to cover their bases.
Okay. So, and we know Marcus mentions this name. I think he contacts Gianna. Hey, look up this person, find where they're at. In the meantime, the killer, shows up to the Rigetti home.
Yeah.
Some weird kind of stuff is happening. The whole doll being hung.
Yeah.
I think she was also cut or stabbed, but then we can't stop there because we have to take this to the extreme, and then the boiling water. And look, I mean, we know that no matter how hot the water is going to get, it's not going to do what it did. And this was like boiling water.
Yeah, this is like water on a stove.
Yeah,
but water's never going to boil that much coming out of a tap.
No, it's not going to happen. But it's I guess. It works for this particular, situation because it's got to get so hot in this bathroom, and she writes something on the mirror before she dies, and that comes into play later on.
Right.
But we know We know eventually Professor Giordani shows up at the Righetti home to find the body.
Right.
Or does Marcus first? I think Marcus might first, right? Yeah.
Right.
I think Marcus finds the body first. Later on down the road, Professor comes back because he's looking for clues.
Yeah.
But you know, we're getting, you know, it's strange here, man. We're getting, you know, Marcus is you know, checking on Carlo. He shows up at Carlo's, I don't know,
Lover's house.
Lover's house. Let's call it a lover because I think it was supposed to be a transvestite. But I looked this up. It was actually a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Her
was
name
actually
was
a woman,
Geraldine.
but she's playing a transvestite.
Yeah.
And
They did pretty good.
They did. But we know Carlo has issues, man.
Yeah.
The guy's an alcoholic, probably doing drugs, whatever. We've already established
and
that.
he was even embarrassed that Marcus saw him there.
Yeah, but Marcus didn't seem to care.
Marcus
doesn't care.
Marcus didn't care, but obviously Carlo carries a lot of baggage.
Yes.
Being an alcoholic and being found out that, you know, he was he's like, you know, he's the F word, you know, that, you know, and lack of, you know, of that turn to saying a homosexual. He's
correct.
But he, you know, he was embarrassed. And Marcus could care less.
He didn't care at all.
Yeah.
Whatever you do is your business.
Yeah.
Man. But in the meantime, we Marcus is trying to piece this, you know, he knows he saw something.
Oh yeah.
He's trying to piece it all together.
Oh, and I think we're leaving out that Marcus has checked in with Carla's mother to find out where
Marta, correct.
Yeah. So
yes,
yeah,
we have. Was she an actress?
She was a former actress.
Yeah.
Really like famous, and she's like showing off her like, you know, headshots and her old movie stills and things like that.
What did she kept calling Marcus? What was she? He kept telling her, "Look, I'm a pianist," but she said something else.
Engineer. She's like, "Oh, I think it's great that, you know, you can mix up, you know, being a musician and an engineer." And he was just thinking, yeah, like, what the hell?
Dude, I've told you like 100 times I'm a pianist.
But she was just very chatty Cathy and, you know, kind of over the top, you know, just.
Which would make sense because she used to be an actress.
Right.
Right. Very dramatic and, you know.
Oh, yeah. And then very longing and yearning for those old days.
Yes, very much so. So you know, we get a little bit of that with Marta. I think there's a scene later on in the movie where I think Marcus even calls to talk with Carlo and Marta picks up. And so there's that interaction there, you know, but in the meantime, like I said, you know, Marcus is, I think at some point he goes to the library. Is that what it is? Or is it a library to kind of,
I think so.
There was when Helga was speaking of this house, she described it a certain way,
but before that he went home and he was composing. Remember?
Oh, he was composing.
Yeah, and then the killer showed up.
Dude, you know what I was just thinking about? Doesn't this kind of remind you a little bit of The Changeling? Like, or of course the Changeling was afterwards, but
yeah,
and I'll tell you why I'm thinking that. You know, George C. Scott's character, he was a pianist.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene that we're going to find later on in Deep Red where we know in The Changeling where a room was basically covered up.
Yeah.
To hide something bad.
So hide something bad.
You know,
yeah.
I don't know. Just something I was thinking about.
Right.
You know.
That's true. And also we need to note that before every murder, the killer always brings around a recorder that plays that child's music.
Yeah.
And they started playing it while they showed up at Marcus's house.
Yeah.
And
because he was composing, right?
Yeah, but Marcus closed the door real quick and he was able to close that person out.
Yeah.
And they were whispering to him through the door, you know, I'll come back and I'll kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary though, man. I mean,
it is.
You know, you're I don't know, man. You know, you know what's funny though is I never felt like he was
in danger.
Yeah. Like he always felt like I always felt like he was always in control and that it never was too much for him. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, I don't know. That's just kind of what I noticed with him. Like me personally, I witnessed this, but I'm going to let them do their jobs and figure out who the killer is.
Right.
You know, so anyways, so we get that in the meantime, Marcus he's gone around town. He's asked To me, it looked like kind of random people. Do they know of this house?
Right.
And I think one of them said, yes, I do. And so,
they call it like a ghost house.
The ghost house. Yeah. And so, we know he goes to the library. He finds the house. He rips out a picture of it.
Yeah.
And he eventually finds this home.
He's on his quest to get there.
And it looks like the home is for sale or lease or rent. I don't remember.
Right.
Was it for rent maybe? This is a big home, right?
It is. It's like
would you call it I don't know if you call it a mansion, but it's
what they call them is oh gosh. I'm trying to remember. In Italy it's oh my gosh, I forget. But it's it goes beyond mansion. It's
okay. So it's not like an estate or something, but there's a specific name for it.
Right, there is.
And so he finds this. It's gated up. He's gotta talk with I guess this would be like the caretaker of the home, or kind of like, I don't know what you'd call this.
He is the caretaker. And then he was trying to get the keys so he could go in and investigate.
Okay, so did you not find? Okay, first of all, I found the interaction with the caretaker and his daughter Olga very, very weird.
Very weird.
And again, this plays to what I was talking about. It's just so kind of strange. I'm trying to follow stuff, and I didn't get it. Like she did something to a lizard or something, and he slaps her in front of Marcus.
Oh yeah, she was like abusive.
But it was just. But then he sends his 10-year-old daughter with a complete stranger to this house.
Right.
That was weird for me, man.
I just think I think what they're trying to do is like convey like a couple things. They're trying to give you red herrings of who the murderer is. On top of that, they're also it's a language barrier thing, because they're trying to like it's like that style, it's like, whoosh, he smacks her, and then, she's going off with a complete stranger with the keys and waits beyond the gate. But I think it's just a style choice. They do just these weird things that doesn't make sense here for us in America, but over there, it's like, maybe it's looked upon as something that's a little bit easier to digest. On how on behavior is.
I just wonder, as a whole, for me, it's an Italian thing, because I remember watching a lot of the spaghetti westerns, and
you're a lot like that too,
right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that's what it is for me. I think it's because I I've seen a lot of spaghetti westerns, but to me, I still they're great, but I still gravitate towards some of the more American westerns as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a style thing. I think it's different for me. And I think that's what it boils down to. But anyways, Marcus gets to the house. He investigates a little bit, right?
Yep. He sees like some plaster chipping villa. That's what
a villa. Okay.
It's a villa.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I was trying to think of the word of mansion villa. It's a villa. Okay. Like in Italy, villas they could be like a couple different houses on a that large gate around it.
Yeah,
it's a villa.
Okay, all right. And so this is where he's chipping away at the plaster, right?
And he sees pretty much the reenactment of the murder that happened in the beginning of the movie that you missed.
Which I'm so pissed off by. We see it at the very end of the movie,
right?
But that's I don't understand why that version didn't have that. But
so my guess is Carlo probably drew that as a child.
Yeah.
And then
because they lived there,
right?
Him, his father, and his mother lived there.
Nice house for just the three of them.
For the three of them, yeah. So we see what we see though is when he's chipping this away. We see it looks like a little kid with a knife.
Yeah.
And then we see it looks like maybe a man and
like a monster.
Yeah, almost like a monster. Like it almost reminded me of the Babadook artwork or something.
Bit, yeah.
And it looked like something around his heart. But when he leaves,
more chips off,
and we see another figure.
Yeah.
And we're gonna find out down the road that other figure is Marta, the mother.
Yeah.
But something's bothering him, right? He comes. I'm trying to remember.
He comes back.
He comes back.
And it's nighttime.
Yeah.
He's like climbing up the wall.
But he's looking at the picture.
Right.
He's looking at the picture that he tore out of the book, and something doesn't look right.
The window's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. It's been basically this whole area of this house has been kind of almost boarded up.
Right. So he's like, okay, well, he starts climbing, and that's when we get our funky music that you probably didn't care for.
Weird. It was like a variation of like 70s porn and 70s sci-fi, really bad, like low budget. It just didn't work for me. And I think, like I said, I love Goblin music. I love their music. Like there's some great stuff going on in the movie with music wise, but there's some stuff that wasn't working. Do we want to touch a little bit before we kind of get into the kind of the tail end of this? Do we want to talk about the death of Professor Giordani, where he where he's I guess he's at his home, and what was with the weird doll? Look,
it's style choice, and I think it was to creep you out.
It was creepy.
It was creepy as fuck.
It was creepy. Look, it made no sense, but it scared me, and so I guess it did what it was supposed to do. Because dolls always scare the shit out of me.
It was an animatronic doll that like came and popped out at you.
It just looked like a weird ventriloquist kind of.
But it had like a cutesy face and
buck
teeth.
It was fucking weird, man.
Yeah, and then he slashed down on it.
Oh my god. Okay, so
and he had like a some sort of like ancient dagger or something.
Yeah, he has a weird dagger. But the killer kept slamming his mouth on the corners of the. Oh my god, dude, that was uncomfortable for me. Like one time but it was like they made it a point. It was like 4 different times, like boom, boom, and then they eventually killed him. But damn, dude, that was uncomfortable. Like
it's brutality.
Dude, I don't like that shit with teeth. Oh my god,
you'll notice that with a lot of Italian movies, like a lot of Italian horror movies. They do some really uncomfortable shit to people.
Yeah,
and it's stuff that doesn't. You would think that, man, okay, they're dead already.
Yeah.
But no, let's keep going.
Let's kill them some more.
Let's keep doing it.
Let's kill them a few times. Yeah. So but anyways, so we're getting close to the end here where there's a scene where Marcus is he sees a drawing of that Olga had did. And of the same thing that he saw at the house underneath the plaster.
Oh, but before we get there, remember he goes back. He goes back to the house.
Yeah, goes back there at night.
And then he's chipping away at that area, and then remember he sees the corpse.
Oh, yeah, yes. My apologies.
Yeah,
because that's super important
with the Christmas tree. And that whole room, it looks like it was untouched.
Yeah,
like it was boarded up at a certain time.
Boarded up and became a tomb for the father.
Yeah,
yeah. And so, yes, thank you. I think I got ahead of myself. But yeah, he finds this. He goes back to the caretaker, call the police, blah, blah, blah. And then he sees the drawing. And Olga says, hey, he was kind of very forceful with her, which I was like, damn.
I know.
If I'm the dad of her, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing,
I know.
man?
He's like, no, I'm here to slap my daughter, not you.
Yeah, not you. But she says, hey, I got in trouble at school and they made me file stuff away. And I saw this and it's at such and such school.
Yeah, at the Leonardo da Vinci school.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is where we get, Marcus and Gianna go to the school. They break in. And they're going through all these drawings, and they find the drawing.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Gianna, she hears
stabbed.
Yeah, she hears a noise. She's gonna go call the police, but then she gets stabbed, and Marcus goes and finds her.
Yeah.
I thought she was dead.
I know,
but we find out at the end she's not. But okay, whatever. Yeah. But anyways, so he finds the drawing. He now knows. He thinks it's Carlo.
Yeah.
Because
and then he sees Carlo there at the school. He's like hiding. And this is what I always didn't know. It's like, was Carlo there with his mother, or did Carlo stab? Did Carlo stab Gianna to protect his mother?
See, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer either, because I'm almost thinking, Carlo being that he has just as much fucking. He is his mother's son.
Yeah.
So, even though we know who the killer is, the primary killer is,
Yeah.
did he follow suit a little bit to protect his mother?
Well, Marta,
and would kill for his mother.
But Marta also said that, Carlo he didn't kill anyone. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But see, I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
but it's a valid question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, we know that, Carlo pulls out a gun on Marcus. The cops get there just in time. Then this is the crazy Giallo. Oh my God, this over the top,
kind of like the beginning of Suspiria with the girl with the getting hung and
yes.
and yeah, it just
it's crazy though that
let's go way brutal.
I mean, the cops were terrible shots because they seemed pretty close up and they couldn't hit him for the life of them.
Yeah, and he crawls over the fence.
Yeah, and then he gets somehow big truck comes by somehow, something off of the truck attaches to him, drags him across town, and he's just
the guys in the garbage truck don't realize that he's behind there being drugged.
And then I think they finally realize it.
And then they stop.
But it's too late.
Yeah, and then the car comes and just runs right over his head.
Again, over the top, because, I mean, he's probably already dead, but now he's definitely...
Yeah, he's definitely dead.
Yeah, let's kill him again. But something just doesn't feel right to Marcus, right?
Yeah, Marcus is like, wait a minute, Carlo couldn't have been the killer.
Because he was... Yeah.
Because he was drunk hanging out over here when Helga was being murdered.
Yeah.
So, and then he remembers the person when the brown coat kept leaving, left Marcus's place when he showed up, he saw the person with the brown coat, hat wearing, glove wearing, killer is always leaving, after a murder, so it's like, okay, well, that's not Marcus, that's someone else,
or Carlo. Yeah,
it's not Carlo. Gosh, I keep saying Marcus. No, that's okay. I mean Carlo.
I know what you mean. It's not Carlo. Yeah. So he goes back to Helga's house. He of course is taped off because it's a crime scene, but he goes in and he's piecing this together, and then we see
he's walking through, and then he sees that painting, and then he sees there's a mirror there.
Yeah.
And then he sees his own head, his own reflection in the mirror against those nightmare faces. And then he's like, wait a minute. And then we are flashing back to the beginning of the movie, and you remember seeing Marta's head.
I'll tell you, man, probably my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
This was awesome for me. I really like this because I was doing what Marcus was doing. I remember seeing something, but I didn't know what I saw. And I never, like I said, I could have rewound it, but I didn't do it. So I'm almost like going through the perspective of what Marcus is going through, going, right. I remember seeing something, but what did I see? And then we get her, and this is this is still creepy, man, for me.
Yeah.
The way it plays out, maybe not so much, but just the build up to that particular scene it paid off for me.
And even the way that she paints her face, kind of like a crazy mime. It's like white and then really
pale and
then really dark eyes, like raccoon eyes.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, she was the person there. She was the brown coated man with gloves, and
she's the killer the whole time.
Yeah, and she's trying to kill Marcus, and then how did they get out to the elevator?
How did they get out to? I think she was trying to kill him. He somehow got out. I thought she had stabbed him, and he was on the ground, and she had this was funny. Again, this was over the top. But again, I just had to dismiss it.
She had a necklace.
She had a necklace, but I'm like, that's a strong necklace to rip off a head.
Well, yeah.
Because the necklace gets caught. I think he throws the necklace into it's one of the old style elevators, you know, and then it, the pressure from it, it starts to move up or down, whatever. That's not relevant, but it moves up or down, and it.
Yeah, because he slapped it to get her, he notices that it was caught. So
to me, it was like a heavy duty chain. It's supposed to be a necklace, but it was heavy duty, and it was heavy duty enough to get
rip
caught
her
on. Yeah, and rip her head off. Yeah,
and then the movie just ends.
Yeah,
but that's a lot of Italian movies. They just end. There's no little reprise.
I noticed that was Suspiria.
Yeah,
Suspiria was like that, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you've done everything you were supposed to do, like there's some sort of payoff for me,
Right.
then I'm fine with an abrupt end. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with, as long as you've done everything you're supposed to do. Now, if you didn't, then I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
But real fast, I mean, I think we've talked about everything, and I want you to chime in on this. I was noticing that this, and I know a lot of the giallos follow like a particular recipe, the killer we don't know, and usually until the end they might be wearing a coat or gloves. This reminded me of Dress to Kill a little bit. Brian De Palma, did this at all to you?
So Brian De Palma is influenced by giallos, and that in a way that was his.
All right.
So being that he was influenced by Hitchcock, Dress to Kill was kind of like his American giallo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it very much reminded me. I mean, yeah. When I liked Dress to Kill, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. But it, like, watching this, because I think I watched Dress to Kill last year for the first time. When I was on a Brian De Palma kick, I was watching like Blowout and, some of these other ones.
Yeah.
And I noticed it, the similarity for me. And I know Dress to Kill was after Deep Red, but so this was okay. So I wasn't crazy. This was his like kind of take on it.
Well, yeah, he's obviously influenced by giallos, because okay, that Black Glove, killer. Gosh, I'm forgetting her name right now.
In Dress to Kill.
Dress to Kill, yeah.
I can't remember it either.
Yeah, Bobby.
Okay.
Yeah, Bobby.
Yeah. But I don't know. It was something I was thinking about while I was watching Deep Red. It just because I had watched Dress to Kill not that long ago and it was kind of fresh in my head. I'm like, oh, it kind of reminds me of that, and I wasn't sure. And I figured you probably would know. So anyways, what else, man? Anything else? I think we hit on just about most everything on this.
Yeah, awesome music by, Goblin, and visuals are very much, Argento style. It'll come up in a lot of his other movies as well.
Yeah.
I mean, once he start getting into his movies. Deep Red's a lot of fun for me. Like I said, I've probably seen this a good 10 times. So.
And I did like it, man. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
Not like Suspiria. I loved Suspiria. I liked Deep Red. I'll be honest. If the ending didn't pay off for me, I would have been on the other side of liking it. I would have been like, but again, as the ending kind of, everything kind of came together.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, I get it now. And so it worked for me.
I mean, I noticed, with you saying that, it felt all over the place for me. This is probably one of his that is more straightforward for me, just because the story is so pretty start to end. And, other than, like the house, the only thing I can think of is, Marta is trying to cover her bases by killing everybody that could know that she was the killer.
Yeah.
That Helga could have told.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the fact that she knew, just talking with Marcus, just in normal, like her normal Marta self, that he was investigating the murders. So
True.
She knew he was on the hunt, and she didn't want him to find out anything. So
yeah, true.
And then you got Carlo, wanting to protect his mother. So that's why he's showing up at the school. Yeah, pretty, for me, straightforward. One of Argento's better movies for me. I really liked it.
Cool. Yeah, man, I think if I start watching more of these, I think I'll start, because, like you said, this is very, very reminiscent of all of them, for most of them, or at least for Argento. So it was just, I think because I've only seen a few, and I, watched Suspiria first, and so, like I said, I think I enjoyed Suspiria more. For me, I think with Suspiria it was I think the music I liked better. I thought the acting, I thought just visually the colors were just, I don't know, very, very stunning for me. Not to say there weren't some cool colors here, but I felt in Suspiria it was more vibrant, I guess would be the word.
And that's why I think you'd like Inferno. Being that it's like pretty much Suspiria too.
So I'll have to check out Inferno and Tenebrae and see, but anyways, All right, man. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. I think we hit on everything.
Nice.
Well, everyone, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Morris, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that'll do it. Everyone stay safe. Hopefully 2021 will be better than 2020. It hasn't started out so great so far. We always record these a little ahead of time. So we are mid-January right now. Not sure when this episode will come out. So hopefully by the time it does, it's a little better.
Yeah.
So anyways, thanks again for listening. Make sure you tell everyone about our Ear for Fear podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ear for Fear. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There you can keep up to date on news, events, and episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you come back and get an earful.